It means that it's literally everything in your life, like literally every action, every behavior, every thought, every process, whether it's conscious or not. It's literally everything that you do every day at every moment. Hello friends and family, my name is Kapabite and I occasionally talk about psychology. First of all, before we even start the video, I want to welcome all the new subscribers. My last video about Notion, I shared that on my university WhatsApp group. I was actually surprised by how many people actually watched the video and how many actually subscribed. So first of all, welcome. I hope I live up to your expectation. Today we're going to be talking about ADHD, which is something that I've had for the last 4 years. And I know that a lot of people spend their whole lives like without knowing that they have ADHD, but you'd expect, like in my case, I was in a really kind of renowned school and there were like psychologists like walking around seeing what's up, so you'd expect someone to notice that I like had a disorder, but that actually like didn't happen. And ironically, if you look at like my school records, there are a bunch of letters from my teachers saying like, even though he has great potential, he is always distracted, or like,
he is very smart and he could have really good grades if he actually applied himself,
or just plain like, he is always interrupting class and disrupting class. I've told this story before here on the channel, but when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was diagnosed with the inattentive type. A lot of people don't know this, but there are actually like several types of ADHD. Firstly, you have your hyperactive types, which would include the hyperactive symptoms, but not the inattentive symptoms. Then you'd have your inattentive types, which is the type that I am, where you do have trouble focusing, but you don't necessarily run around or fidget a lot. It kind of depends on the case. And finally, your mixed types, your combined types, which is the most common type, what is commonly known as ADHD and not as like ADD or just hyperactivity. There are definitely things to say about every kind of ADHD, and I could make a video about each one of them. I personally believe that you don't really fit into one category or the other, you just lean towards one type, and I don't even think that you lie specifically in one place for your entire life, especially because like your brain develops up until you're 24 years old, so I don't think it's that crazy to think that maybe you're a bit more hyperactive when you're a kid, and as you get older your brain develops and everyone just kind of leans more towards the inattentive type. But anyways, I'm kind of just speculating here based on my experience. I don't have like actual evidence to support this. Let's just move on. Anyways, as I was saying, like in this video we'll be focusing on the inattentive type of ADHD, and I will talk about my case, which is inattentive ADHD in an adult, I guess. I believe that inattentive type ADHD is actually the hardest type of ADHD to detect, because when you say ADHD, people usually think about like firstly a young boy running around like screaming, making a mess, causing mayhem, and I think it's been like long enough that we could like retire that image. Firstly, we know that ADHD affects both guys and girls.
In case you haven't noticed, I am a woman with ADHD.
Second, we know that it also affects adults. And thirdly, like it's possible for you to have ADHD and not be running around making a mess, being super hyperactive. And sincerely, like when I think about ADHD, I think that one of the major struggles that we go through is just not knowing that you have it or don't understanding what it means to have it. So I think it's very frustrating when you're growing up like feeling you're behind everyone in your class, or when you're an actual adult, or when you're in university, like feeling that you have like specific things about you that are setting you back. I mean, it's not like every problem just suddenly gets solved because you learn you have ADHD, but I feel like it's much worse before you actually know. And I guess that's probably why it's so popular in YouTube, like videos about signs you have ADHD or do I have ADHD. I think there's a lot of stigma around ADHD, like obviously in a cultural standpoint, but even in the scientific community, if you just do a quick Google search, I'm just gonna do that for you. In Google Scholar, like you'll see that there are a bunch of studies about children and basically nothing about adults. I think that's one of the reasons that contributes to people thinking about ADHD is just a learning disorder. And I tell this to people all the time, but I think that thinking about ADHD as strictly a learning disorder is incredibly reductionist, and like saying that ADHD is only a learning disorder is kind of like saying that, for example, being in a wheelchair is like a running disorder. I mean, yeah, you you will have trouble learning, but that's not what it is. When you say to people attention deficit, most people will get it, right? If I say I have a lack of attention, that's very easy to understand. But then let me ask you this. What do you think attention means? Like, what's your guess for a good definition of attention? Now, tell me if this was your guess. Attention includes the cognitive processes that enable the selection of, focus on, and sustained processing of information. The object of attention can either be environmental stimuli actively being processed by sensatory systems, or associative information and response alternatives generated by ongoing cognitive activity or in relation to the nervous system. Now, I know that you didn't guess a definition based on physiology, but what I mean with this is, do you know what every process regarding the nervous system means? It means that it's literally everything in your life, like literally every action, every behavior, every thought, every process, whether it's conscious or not. It's literally everything that you do every day at every moment. It means that the processing of information in your brain, if you have ADHD, is fundamentally different from anyone else's, and therefore it's not just a learning disability. Now, I'm sure that many of you would just take my word for it, but just to kind of illustrate, I'd like to show you an article from a website called ADDitude. I don't know how to mention that. Anyways, I'd like to show you this article about inattentive ADHD, right? They say it right here. Inattentive ADHD, often called ADD, manifests as forgetfulness, disengagement, distractibility, and can be mistaken for anxiety or a mood disorder in adults. In children, it may resemble a learning disorder. Here, we take an in-depth look at inattentive versus hyperactive systems. Anyways, here they actually get it right when they say that it might resemble a learning disorder. I'd like to just point out the symptoms. They point to a limited attention span, distractibility, forgetfulness, or procrastination. People with inattentive ADHD make careless mistakes because they have difficulty sustaining focus, following detailed instructions, or organizing tasks and activities. They are easily distracted by external stimuli and often lose things. They may leave projects unfinished and appear not to listen when you speak. These are all symptoms of inattentive type ADHD. They are not personal defects. And I decided to show you this article because I think it's one of the most comprehensive kinds. And again, I'm not saying that ADHD itself is a terrible thing. What I'm trying to point out here is that while it's literally just a difference that you have, and being different is just a part of life, everyone kind of ends up being different in some way or another. It can lead to some pretty devastating things. They even say it here, inattentive ADHD are far less likely to be recognized by parents, teachers, and medical professionals, and they rarely get the treatment that they need. This leads to academic frustration, apathy, and shame that can last for a lifetime. And if there's anything you want to take away from this video, it's this. This is my main point for making this video, and actually one of my main points for even creating this channel. These people that live their whole lives feeling frustration, apathy, and shame, you don't have to live like that just because you're different. And I think that the first step is understanding yourself. And if there's any reason for you to believe that you might have ADHD, just please talk to a psychologist. It might change your life. Even if you don't end up having it, just talking to a therapist can make such a difference. And if you can't do that right now, just inform yourself, just understand what things are, and work in accepting yourself. Alright, that's gonna be everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that was informative in some way. Once again, welcome to new subscribers, and shout out to everyone who's been following me up until now. It's been officially 2 months since we started the channel, and I said all of this 2 weeks ago, so I'm not gonna repeat everything, but I'm super pumped for everything to come. There are some videos that are being cooked up, and I just can't wait. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like below. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel. And yeah, that's gonna be everything from me. I have been Kappa Bite, and I occasionally talk about psychology, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.